Well, we're here at MDI High School again. Chris Popper, joined by Charlie Johnson, who is the digital media photography art teacher here at the high school. And we are in just a very cool, there's all sorts of printed fabric up on hanging from the trusses here in the high school. Charlie, I guess tell us how long have you been here, and give us a little bit of your background.
Wow. Well, I started here. This is my 11th year at MDI. It's kind of sort of a full cycle for me, because I actually did my student teaching out of college here at Connors Elementary and
really?
Here at the high school.
Okay.
Let's see, that was back in '72.
Yeah, that's
so
a long time
I'm on
ago.
my 43rd, 44th year of teaching.
Wow.
Which I think it's the longest of anybody at the high school here anyway right now. So.
Yeah, my wife has taught in Nokomis since 1978. Mm-hmm. And it's Teacher Appreciation Week. So thank you for everything that you do.
Yeah, hey, you're very welcome, as are all my students. I will admit I did a promotional YouTube video today for my classes that was out there by Target.
Yeah.
To thank teachers and just give a little plug for that.
It's an important thing. I mean, everybody, and this is kind of one of the reasons why we started this, is I don't think people understand everything that a teacher does and what's involved in a teacher's day. I mean, for everybody who thinks that it's 7:30 or 8 o'clock to 2:30 and you have summers off and you only work Monday through Friday, it's a totally different world.
That has become a more and more ridiculous kind of an attitude as expectations and such have increased and that sort of thing over the years. But it's a profession that has so many rewards. Yeah, it's not an easy profession. In fact, the video we looked at today talked about it being one of the hardest things to do. But it's the rewards, I think, that make it a worthwhile thing.
It's an amazing thing. Yeah. So, as the photography, digital arts teacher, I guess tell us what you're teaching. And I mean, I walked into the dark room here, and I mean, again, who knew MDI High School had a dark room?
Well, that's kind of a gentleman that was here when I started here was down in the industrial arts area, Galen Lau, who did black and white photography and had been doing it for a while. He retired, and before he left, things kind of moved to the art department. And I told him before he left that as long as I was here anyway, there'd be black and white classes available to kids. It's really a foundational, important kind of process for students to understand. And it's history. It's the way things were done. Well, and they appreciate it a little more, I think, when they realize that.
You and I were talking beforehand. I mean, now with everybody, with the advent of smartphones, everyone carries around a camera and a digital, or I guess for the lack of better words, a camcorder. And it's amazing. I mean, when I was younger, I mean, we used to have the Kodak, and I mean, those were new at the time, the old snap and shoot, and you just then drop off the camera and you'd wait and hope that the film would develop right, or if you had to load it yourself, I mean, you'd sit there and, oh, please make sure it advanced, and I mean, it's all changed.
And with that too, and I think it's become more important to teach it because students, I think, tend to feel like, well, I can take pictures. Right. I'm good at this. It's so easy. Anybody can do this, and that's what teaching photography is all about. Yes, anybody can take a picture, but what we're trying to do is have you think, have you look at what you're taking, have you analyze what you're taking, think about the images that you're making,
how to frame
and how you can make them better.
Yeah.
So we deal with composition and that sort of thing. And I'm always telling students, work for the shot, work harder at it, find a better point of view, find something, take that shot that got you, that gripped you, but then go beyond that and try to push yourself to get a better shot. What was it that you found interesting? How can you show that? And especially with new standards, as we begin to look at standards, I found in the last couple of years, and it's kind of exciting for somebody that's been teaching as long as I have, to have something come along that feels new, and it might actually change things, and things become more student-centered. As an art teacher, I'm noticing we're not really measuring with standards so much and making judgments on the students' work, the finished product. We're talking about more of what they learn and how they learned it.
Right.
And that's kind of what school ought to be about. So I think that's been a really nice thing I've seen happen.
It's explain why you did this, what you learned from it, and it's okay. It's not so much as just taking the photo. It's explain why you took the photo, why it looks like the way it did. What could you have done a little bit differently?
Yeah. And with the arts, I mean, we just got a really nice set of national standards, and there were people all over the country that were master craftsmen as far as teaching goes that worked together on that. And a lot of minds went into coming up with these, and they narrowed everything down to 4 basic areas, and that's creating, presenting in the visual arts, performing would be music and that sort of thing, responding or critiquing, and then connecting to other things. With those 4 areas, boy, you can cover a world of what's going on in the artist and the artist's mind, and what they need to know and understand to do the best they can do at whatever their project happens to be.
Now tomorrow you're going out with Jeff Zeman. You're taking a field trip to Sand Beach.
We're so fortunate to be supported the way we are here at MDI. I mean, the park, one of the rangers of the park a couple of years ago came to me and said, "Hey, Charlie, I got this idea. We'd like to do a celebration of the 100-year anniversary of the park."
Yeah.
And of course, with logistics and everything else, it's kind of come down to Jeff and I co-teaching a class, and we're supported to do that. And it's been a full class. I mean, we've got hours and hours and hours of footage that we've shot. But the support for it that's the important thing. The park supporting it, Friends of Acadia are supporting it, supplying us with equipment and funds to purchase equipment. Our administration supports what we're doing with the students. You know, we're able to get buses and do the field trips and out and take shots of whatever happens to be part of the story the students are working on at the time.
So this is going to be video, photography tomorrow, or both?
It's film. We're doing the video, the filmmaking class, and that's what the focus is. They'll do stills. We've got some cameras that shoot stills, and there are sometimes where stills are kind of an important part of it, especially if we're doing something like time-lapse or something along those lines. But for us, it's been exciting to see the improvement and the sophistication that's happened over time with what they're doing and how they're producing video and that sort of thing. It's really amazing.
I mean, when you consider the fact, and I think one of the things we've talked about with other teachers is the impact of technology on their classroom. And I mean, I think back to when my children were little. They're almost 25 and 23. I mean, we had a VCR that literally, I mean, is larger now than what the TV stations use. And I mean, I would hold it on my shoulder, and it would have the eyepiece, and I mean, the eyepiece was this big, and I mean, nowadays we have my camera right here is this big. It shoots in HD, and I mean, I don't have the face for HD, but I mean, it shoots in HD, and I mean, it's amazing how technology has just changed, and you've got to have seen that in your classroom.
Oh, and really, we've got a couple of cameras that are the same size as the old ones, but they do 100 different more things than the old ones used to do, as far as settings and all of that sort of thing. And the technology is a huge piece for students. Just access to information. if nothing else. I mean, even the park, for example, all of the information that's out there online for students to find and research and understand more about the park itself and what it offers and that sort of thing. It's there. It's very, very easy to get at. And these guys have become really pretty sharp consumers of that. They know how to distinguish.
And that's all part of having the laptops and everybody having their own laptops. I mean, I remember how great it was when I was in 8th grade and we got our own Encyclopedia Britannica set at home. I mean, because then I didn't I had all that access. There wasn't Google, there wasn't, it was just, went and looked it up.
Yeah, and I was just talking about that this morning with my digital photography class, that we're looking for information around a particular assignment that they've got now. You got to give them a general assignment and encourage them to explore and try some different things. They can find information on, we use a site called Picture Correct, I think, and so there's articles, thousands of articles. They can type in a search key. Lighting food. Photographs lighting food for a search,
sure.
And they'll find a dozen different articles that can give them pointers about how to make those images and make them better images.
Well, yeah. I mean, you figure the fact that YouTube is 10 years old now. Mm-hmm. If you want to find just about how to do anything, you can look in YouTube and there's do-it-yourself everything. How to do this, how to do that.
Repair your car from, yeah.
It's definitely amazing how the technology's changed, and it's up to you and the other teachers to keep the kids attuned to that technology, which means you've got to adjust to it on the fly.
And being careful consumers is a part of that too. It's easy to get lost in that, and I know I'm guilty of it.
Yeah.
Go on the interweb and with a goal. And before you know it, you spent 15 minutes, and what have I done? What have I accomplished?
You're off in 20 different...
right. And it's part of, I think, our responsibility as teachers to help kids with that, help them understand that, and see that, well, we do it, but how can we be more responsible with it? Make a list or give them some devices that help. And so I think it's important, as you say, for teachers to maybe do some of that scouting first. Right. And here are some good sites. If you get them started on some decent sites to find the information they need, they may not tend to kind of diverge into other areas.
And there are a lot of bad sites.
There are a lot, and I think students have gotten better and better at discerning those, and they don't spend any time with them. They see right away this, yeah. And with the arts, a lot of times you can tell just by the look of the site, the structure of the site, and the look of the site. If it's designed well and properly and looks good aesthetically,
yeah,
the chances are it's a pretty reliable site. Somebody's not just it's not just thrown up there without purpose. And they begin to identify with that and take that kind of pride in their own work, I think, that way too.
Well, and I mean, from web development and everything, I mean, these are things that people need to know nowadays. I mean, I sit here and I have to blog so many times, and I think back to 3 years ago when we first started, and it was like, oh my God, this is taking forever. I don't have time to do this. Now, I know my sites where I'm getting approved images. I can bang out stories. I mean, it takes time to do it right, but it nowhere near the time that it used to.
And as you become more familiar with it, I think that's an important role that schools still play. And I'm hearing things now about employers that, the social media thing, I think, is the next big block that we have to deal with. And it's so easy for students to be distracted by that. And I understand the importance of it, that they're whether it's a virtual culture or a group or whatever, but there's got to be restraint somewhere. And I think we can model that for one thing, and we can also help them discover some strategies for circumventing that immediate kind of need, like, shut your reminders off and that sort of thing.
You're absolutely right, because in this day and age, it is so easy to get we're on a 24/7 news cycle. And if you're behind, you can feel like, oh my God, I'm really behind. And, and I compare this to, I grew up in Bermuda, and we used to get the CBS News with Walter Cronkite a day late. So we were already behind. But, you compare that now to, oh my God, I've got an instant text when there's breaking news, or, and I do the weather for WDEA. I now turn my alarms off from the MEMA, because otherwise I'll get
bing, 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 bing.
At 1 o'clock in the morning it'll be going off. And, it's set to go on between 5 and 10 at night, 5 in the morning and 10 at night. And even that's can be like, oh my God,
busy.
Okay, great, there's a wind advisory or something like that. But the technology, it's really easy to get caught up.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that productivity, work productivity, and like I was saying with businesses, I understand that completely. And I think if we look at that and address that in terms of students, whether if you're in a classroom at a college level, especially, but you're paying for the education, that's your money you're wasting.
Right.
But at the high school level, we can practice it and encourage it and see that, it's always a struggle. I know with the faculty, there's different levels of comfort with that. And of course, one thing is I think some have the feeling that everybody should be doing exactly the same thing with students. And I always felt like going through high school, at least years ago that I did, it was having different teachers and different kinds of teachers that really was a big part of my education, having to deal with different personality types and that sort of thing. I think students, that's something that they appreciate like that, and we should do the same thing with them. They're different personality types as well, so we need to be aware of that sort of stuff.
What's the best thing about teaching here at MDI High School?
Oh, wow, I think the level of support for education. I think there's always pressure to do a better job. I don't see that as a negative thing. I mean, I've taught in some schools where most of the time, if you kind of exert that pressure yourself, and I believe in that, and I think a lot of us try to do that, but having that direction and that guidance, whether it's from an administration or just the general expectation of it, is really a good thing as well. And we're just supported in general, and specifically in the arts. I mean, I have to say that the arts have really. What I've seen is that, especially in recent years, there's been a little bit more of an appreciation for what the arts can do for students, and that's never been a problem at this school. When I student taught here, it was a very strong idea, concept, or whatever, and it went away for a little while when curriculum started shrinking with No Child Left Behind, and we're looking at math and ELA as those are important things because those are the things that we test. And really, the bottom line is if we're teaching the arts and we have kids writing and producing work, we're adding to their ability, their critical thinking skills, what they can do with what's around them, their perceptions, all of that. And those are all kind of subtle but yet really important parts of the human psyche. And that improves the student, And it's fun having this facility. Are you serious? I mean, how many schools can boast this? There's a handful in the state.
Yeah, not many. I mean, the one thing that I've always seen here with my time at MDI, which I guess is now going on 9 years or so, is that the school and the community takes as much pride in the arts and the success of the one-act plays, of the drama, of the choral, of the music, as it does with the traditional extracurricular activities about basketball and soccer and football and baseball.
Yeah. And it's hard having all of those programs and having them available makes it really hard for kids because they have to make choices. And sometimes that's really difficult. Some of them try to do everything.
Yeah.
And it's
but they're 24 hours in a day.
There are, but you need a few to sleep. I looked at a couple today that they'd just gotten back from a family trip or something. They're back in school and they kind of slouched down a little bit. And how many hours of sleep did you get last night? And you'd be surprised at how many will tell you, 5 or 6.
Right.
And it's so I don't know. I just saying that, having that conversation with you, is this a problem in the back of my head? I don't know. I think kids discover ways of getting to those, but there's that upside of having everything available, and maybe we should limit to help the kids. Maybe we should limit the number of things that they try to do.
It's a good thing to try. I mean, to be able to experience a class like this. I mean, where else, if you're not doing it in school, where are you going to do it?
Mm-hmm.
And when you try new things, you never know whether, oh my God, this is my calling.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think with the standards process, as we move toward that, I think we may see that begin to evolve as a part of it. As students get their basic understandings through freshman, sophomore year in high school, they may have more opportunity to specialize, go
Right.
to fields that they're particularly drawn to, and make some discoveries about themselves and what they want to do post-secondary, whether it's in the community or in a career, business area, or whether it's going on to college and pursuing an advanced kind of a degree. If they have those opportunities to explore, I think that's significant.
Right.
That they really make some self-discovery before. I mean, we didn't all know what we wanted to do when we got out of.
I mean, how many people go to college and end up changing their majors 3 or 4 times?
But then again, when you think about it, we were very narrowly taught. Everybody took the same freshman course. Everybody took the same sophomore. We weren't allowed a lot of exploration.
No.
In school. And if we can provide that for kids, I think we really will see that shift take place. That there will be not all at once. Come on, it's education.
Right.
It doesn't happen. What somebody once said, change in education is a process, not an event.
Yeah, I'm sure if you talk about change, there probably still in this building a mimeograph machine somewhere. No one probably knows how to use it.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's somewhere there is one.
See, and that's funny, as a digital teacher, I'll come back around to where we started with this, but as a digital teacher, use very little paper. I mean, I will print images, and you'll see some of the stuff that of course, photographic paper, we use a ton of that, but as far as actual paper, kids put together work. We use Google as our communications device, and Google Drive has some really great apps on it.
Yeah.
Students will organize their artwork, photograph it. Well, digital photography, it's all done. And with digital media, it's all done as well. But the black and white kids will scan it with a scanner, or even photograph it with their phones, and then post it on the Google Drive in a classroom folder, and it's all electronic. And it gives me the opportunity to comment on the work they do asynchronously. They don't have to be in class. They can, be doing kind of collaboration sorts of things and that sort of thing in class, but I can comment on their work. They can respond to my comment, correct their work, change it, improve it.
Which is all part of the standards base.
And that's that loop that really happens. And I think the upside is it really gives them more of an opportunity to show what they know and how they've grown. The difficult side for teachers is, it may make teaching a, 12-hour day instead of a 8-hour day or 9-hour day.
Absolutely, because I mean, when you're talking about standards-based education, there's the opportunity for kids to do it until they show that they've met the standard. And as a result, teachers are touching the work 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 times. But the net result is the kids understand it. They're not moving on until they've understood it.
You know, and I know there are some countries that talk about understanding the teaching profession and advancing it. I know Finland has a great rep for respecting their teachers and looking at it as a, and I mean, I certainly wouldn't compare myself to the kinds of knowledge that a physician or such has, but you know, we're kind of on call, and I've had students ring me up, email or whatever, at night, you know, after supper I'm working and being, oh Charlie, hey, what about that piece that I did, and have a go back and forth, or something I forgot. Remember, you were going to get that. So, you know, you're always there and reachable. And so that's a little different. That's another piece I think that technology has done with the teaching part of it. But it's good for kids. It's you're available. You know, it's not just the bell rings, so you're out of here. You're home, and they can reach you there too. So
what do you like to do in your spare time when you're not touching the work for the 4th or 5th time?
You know, honestly, I read. I try to draw every day. I think that drawing is really a foundation for the arts. Dan and I were just talking about that today, about looking at restructuring our curriculum and how to revise the way we do things a little bit. It's sort of student driven in the sense that classes are kind of popularity things, and I'm not sure that's the best thing for kids. If we could have more of a variety, because so many students will take ceramics 3 or 4 times or come into photography and have that as their, it's kind of a narrow look at what arts really are, visual arts really are. So we've been talking a little bit about that, and I think that following up on that, the idea that having the choice of a class might be better accomplished by students if they have a foundational background that's more of a variety. And so that's the ongoing discussion. You know, we're always talking about ways that, well, how can we make things a little better for kids? How can we make it work a little better? And it's really easy, and sometimes we fall into that, to get comfortable and get into a setting, and that's about the time you have to stop and step back and really take a look at what you're doing. Is this really what we want to be doing? Is this really the good thing for kids? And the tough thing is when we have successes. I mean, we've got a couple of kids at RISD now in the last couple of years, which is one of the best arts colleges in the country. And you know, they go where they want to go. I know there are 2 seniors that are heading to Maine College of Art next year, and they're excited about it. They can't wait. You know, it's not for everybody, but getting them into the courses and getting that coursework out there for them is really important. It really makes it work for them.
If you could change anything, what would you change?
Here at the high school?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. Well, aside from what I just mentioned, we're looking at little tweaks. As far as anything major, I would really appreciate, and I think it would be a substantial help to somehow share time with colleagues. I mean, just sitting here with you and having a conversation around teaching, I don't think we do enough of that. And whether it's time in the day or time after or whatever, I think those times when those happen, they're really the important things. And I think the other thing that I'd like to see, and I've talked with others about this at different times, but how do we give students more of a voice in what's going on in the school and what they see and have and do and would like to see? I think sometimes we're so embedded in working with them and having them be our product, that we forget about referring to them and finding some of their needs and wants and desires as something important. Yeah. So nothing major.
No, but I mean, you know, when you think about it, I mean, so you've got faculty meetings, you've got department meetings, but I know for my wife, it's like, oh my God, we've got another faculty meeting, and you're thinking, all right, I should be doing this, I've got this to be doing.
And it's hard. Well, but you have to administer. It's really hard for administration too. That's not an easy job. I mean, it's no different than teaching. They're educators too, except they're confined and restricted into certain, and there are different expectations of them. And so I think that would be. I'd love to see that maybe as a change, if it is in general in schools, that it's like the Finding Nemo movie. You know, the sharks kept saying, "Fish are our friends." Well, administrators are our friends too, and working with them and getting in is really an important kind of part of the process. And I think that's a huge.
What's the one thing nobody knows about you that you're willing to confess to right now?
Oh gosh, that nobody knows about?
Well, or many don't know.
Okay, gosh, that would go back through history and stuff, wouldn't it? Oh God, I've got there's a few things that family things that are kind of coincidental. I'm a big Yankee fan. I think a lot of people know that.
Okay.
Last weekend was just
it was a fun weekend for you, wasn't it? It was nice, huh?
But my cousin played for the Yankees for 16 years.
Really?
And did pretty well.
Who's your cousin?
Whitey Ford.
Really?
Yeah. His mom was my dad's sister. They both passed away now. But so we're first cousins.
Wow.
And my dad and my Uncle Bobby used to coach Eddie Whitey.
Yeah.
As he was growing up and going through Sandlot there in the city, and that's where my dad's from. My paternal grandparents came over from Sweden, and kind of coached Whitey. He was a first baseman in the Sandlot League, but then when he got to the minors, they made him into a pitcher.
He's a pretty good pitcher.
And, he did okay for 2 years. Yeah. And of course, that was the heyday. I was a teenager, and my father would take us to New York City, and we'd spend 2 weeks down there visiting grandparents, and we'd go to the ball game, we'd go to the park every afternoon and sit right behind the first base dugout.
Wow. I mean, old Yankee Stadium. I was born in New Jersey.
Yep.
And I mean, my father took me to old Yankee Stadium, and I remember, sitting there and seeing the Washington Senators and Frank Howard. And, and it was just, and when I was rooting for the Yankees a long time ago, those were the dark days of, thinking back to 1968, 69, and there was
post Mickey and
that was
post Whitey.
Yeah,
there were some dark.
It was a dark time for the Yankees.
And then Reggie Jackson came along.
Exactly.
Turned things around a little bit. Yeah, but going into the dugout after the game, and Yogi would always offer
a yoo-hoo or something.
A yoo-hoo, exactly. That was his thing. Yeah, have a yoo-hoo, boys.
That's
and of course Mickey and Eddie always roomed together on the road, and they had boys that were a little bit younger than my brother and I, but not that much.
Very cool.
And those were. And I know a few of my colleagues here know about that part of it, but that's always been kind of a neat thing.
Oh yeah, well,
not a secret. I brag it up when I can.
We can forgive you for being a Yankee fan.
I brag it up when I can, but.
All right, the camera's yours. What do you want to say to everybody watching?
Oh gosh, I'm just glad to be here. It's a great school. The faculty, it's got a wonderful faculty, diverse. There's a little bit of everybody here. And it's a pleasure to work with. I don't think I've seen an obstacle that we haven't been able to talk over or hash out and figure out and overcome in the school. And I think that's really neat. In particular, the people I work with. Dan Stillman, grew up, went to high school here. Of course, I'd already done my student teaching when he was here at high school, so I missed him. But it's a pleasure working with him across the hall. We're enough alike. We're both Aries, and we both went to the University of Maine, and so there's kind of a camaraderie around that. And we say things and talk to each other and visit each other's classroom. That's a nice environment. I really like that part of it. And keep on keeping on. That's the big thing. So, thank you.
Perfect. That's this week Meet the MDI Teacher. We hope you've enjoyed this video. Check out all the videos we have. They're all linked. You can see, I think this is the 22nd Meet the MDI Teacher video that we've done. And check out all the videos we have on the WDEA YouTube channel. And remember, this week, Teacher Appreciation Week. Thank you, teacher.
And thanks for watching.